Y aquí tenemos a Jenkins con su increíble disfraz. Y como pueden ver también, del Club del Bigote. So, Jenkins, thank you so much for taking the time. And I want to ask you the same question I asked Lyrical yesterday. What is your opinion on the common phrase, Dota is dying?
I think that the sky is falling for a lot of people. I think people have been saying this for 10 years. I don't think Dota's dying. I think that the Crownfall patch is something that Dota has needed for a very long time. Dota has always had, like, every single game that you play feels like a completely different video game that you're playing. This has never been a problem. Dota is the best game in terms of gameplay. This is hands down true, and it will never, no other game will beat Dota in this, because the way Dota came into existence was very organic, and it happened at a point in time that will not exist ever again. The custom game scene in Warcraft 3 is something you cannot replicate today, because it only worked in early internet era. Was that if somebody had an idea, they could just put it into the game. They could just go onto the forum and they could tell IceFrog to do it, or the person who made it before, or the ideas that came from the engine, or the ideas that came from the games that were like tangential to Dota or before Dota, like Aeon of Strife, like these sorts of things. So it's this like amalgamation of just good mechanics from like an organism which is like comprised of many different developers over a period of time that which cannot exist anymore. It's like the only game that's balanced and created purely based on fun mechanics. Like for instance, like creep pulling from camps. Literally the problem was that the original coder didn't want creeps to keep spawning in camps, so he just made these hitboxes where if the creeps are in them, they don't spawn anymore. So because of this, what happened? People started pulling them out of the hitbox so they would spawn. Boom, you have stacking. Even though this is abuse, it was left in the game because people liked it. It's the only game that is not balanced based on consistency, it's based on what's cool. So, Dota, in terms of gameplay, is a almost perfect game in terms of fun and the depth of it. The problem is the complexity, and then also the outer loop of like, how do you give people a sense of progression between playing the games themselves? Crownfall really solves a lot of these things. I think a lot of the, in terms of like the progression and the feeling of like, I want to keep playing games of Dota, I want to play different heroes in Dota, and then also recent additions to the game have helped with like the new player experience, like holding alt and seeing where the spawn boxes are, for example. That didn't always exist. Seeing the stun bars, that didn't always exist, and with like status resistance, this thing has to exist. So basically, I think Dota is like the perfect game in terms of fun, and all of the adjustments to new player experience and getting people into the game and outer loop and the problems which exist in the game have improved. So the people that say Dota is dying, look at the fucking numbers. It's literally not true. It's literally not true. Like, yeah, of course every game has a peak, but it's still an incredibly successful game on Steam in terms of like how many concurrent players they have. Is this game dying because it's not at its peak? It's like, that's such a fucking cynical way of looking at life. Like, when you're not 18 anymore, are you dying? When you're not a kid anymore, are you dying? Like, where does this concept end? Like, just don't be pessimistic. Don't be cynical.
Again, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you. Wishlist Relic Arena on Steam.
Do it.